Okay, boys and girls, welcome back. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I spent my weekend having a barbecue on the roof here and working on some of my art project, the resin and some painting. I can't wait to show you when this all blows over the next couple of weeks. So today, we're going to analyze some sources to explain how life changed during the Blitz. Now, we're going to look at Britain as an example because this was the first place where something new in war started happening, something that was called strategic bombing. Now, the background here, for us to get a good understanding of what's happening in the world at this point in time, we know now that France has lost. By the 22nd of June, the British and the forces tried to fight the German army in France, but was defeated. So they signed an armistice, and fighting officially stopped on the 25th of June. This resulted in Britain now facing Nazi Germany alone. As we can see here from the graphic at the bottom, that France is lost, Norway is lost, Sweden joins the Nazis. We know there's an alliance between Italy and Germany. This leaves England and Russia. But we're going to get to Russia a little bit later. So effectively, England is now fighting this war alone. So obviously, Hitler, seeing how successful things are going or how well things are going for him, he plans a massive invasion of Britain by land and by sea. They named this Operation Sea Lion. But he knew he needed to defeat the RAF first. The RAF is called Royal Air Force. Right, this is Britain's Air Force. He hoped his Luftwaffe, which means the German Air Force, and its fierce reputation would intimidate Britain enough that they would surrender peacefully. Because the RAF, with this new tactics that the Germans was using, Blitzkrieg, had a very fierce reputation as very effective and very, very skilled, which they were. This resulted in Hitler underestimating the resolve of Winston Churchill and the British people, meaning he did not think that they would last long with his new blitz over Britain. And he also overestimated how good the Luftwaffe was. That means effectively he thought that they were better than they actually were. They were good, but they were not that good. By the 10th of July, Luftwaffe attacks Britain, performing reconnaissance missions. This means they fly over the place to see what's happening, and also targeting coastal defenses, port, and radar stations. Very important targets for them. But their efforts did little damage to the Royal Air Force. As we can see here, they did try some attacks on airfields, but it wasn't their main priority. They were focused on coastal defenses, ports, and radar stations. By the middle of August, using mostly single engine Messerschmitt Bf-19s. This is the picture I added for you here. Single engine means they only have one engine. Here we see an example, and here we see an example. They sent these single engine combat planes, and they started attacking the airfields. Fighter production sites. This means factories that produce aircraft or parts of aircraft, and also targeting the RAF Supermarine Spitfire and Hawk Hurricanes in the air, meaning this was a battle in the air. Obviously, the British didn't sit back and just watch everything get bombed and attacked from the air. They also sent their fighters up to engage them. As we see here from the graphics, this is some some footage from front mounted. This means cameras mounted in front of aircraft, dogfights, and attacks on the ground. What it would have looked like. Now, back then, people also went to cinemas. Before a cinema, or before the movie rather, you would have news broadcast. They would make little movies about what's happening in the world right now that they thought people should know. And this source that we have here shows us the type of information that was sent out to the world. So the British saw this and the Americans saw this, which was important later. How France, which you see here at the bottom, and how the Germans was attacking England by across the English Channel. There's just some more footage for you here about air combat from the from videos mounted on the front of fighters specifically. This type of footage is very, very rare. We are very lucky to be able to see this. And there's some more. You guys can see what the bullet impact on an aircraft actually look like. Now the Blitz, despite being outnumbered, meaning there was more Luftwaffe aircraft than RAF aircraft. The British Air Force responded by bombing Berlin. So, to give you some context, what we see here is the Nazis launching attacks all over Britain. Obviously, the British would respond. So they respond by bombing Berlin after their cities was bombed. Then Hitler decided to change tactics and ordered a bombing campaign known as the Blitz. This is what we're going to look at today and tomorrow. Against London, Liverpool, Coventry, and other big cities, hoping to destroy the morale, meaning the fighting spirit of the British people. Now, I want to take a moment and talk to you guys about Coventry. Coventry was a bombing raid against the city of Coventry. In fact, it was such a huge success for the Nazis that they developed a new term called Coventry. This means the absolute destruction of a city. This was a very good example of how devastating something like strategic bombing can be. Now, they would make sure to cause massive casualties by bombing cities at night. I mean, we discovered this, or we at least thought about this when we studied earthquakes. You know, what time it happened has an effect, because what are people doing at night? They're sleeping in their beds, not aware of what's happening. So 15th of September rolls around and the Luftwaffe began massive raids on London, trying to force the British into negotiations. Meaning, we talked about this before. The point of war is to get the other person to sit with you at a table and talk to you. Okay, we are surrendering. What do you want? They bombed the Houses of Parliament and other significant government and cultural sites during that time. People were sleeping in the underground, people were building air raid shelters in their houses. It was a terrible and difficult time for them. Now, boys and girls, this is all I have for you today. Just some background before we go into exploring how the people reacted and what their options were, and how the British government later reacted. What I want to leave you with is that the Battle of Britain was a success for the British. They won. The Luftwaffe could never gain control over the air over England. They tried very hard. They underestimated the British technology, their will to fight. And at the end of the day, another significant factor was the fact that the British could replace their aircraft faster than the Germans could. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will talk tomorrow. Tomorrow we will do another lesson, and some of you will be getting your grades throughout the course of today and tomorrow on Google Classroom. Please be sure to take the rest of the day to finish up the assignment we gave you guys on Thursday. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.